This is a game called You Probably Won't Survive. Now, originally, this game was created in 48 hours for a game jam. It was a simple zombie survival game where you spawn on an island and can chop down trees, build bases, and have to fight off waves of zombies and other monsters. And that was it. It was a very simple game, but you guys wanted me to add more to the game, so that's what I did. And here is 1 year of progress on my game in 10 minutes. So here's what we started with. Originally, You Probably Won't Survive was created for a game jam, where the rule of the game jam was that I could only use this asset pack for the game. The original game itself was very simple, but actually pretty fun. The objective was to try survive a total of 7 waves on this island. If you survive 7 waves, you would win. You could chop down trees to get wood and mine stone to get cobblestone, building bases to help you survive these 7 waves as zombies and other monsters try and attack you. Even though the game was fun, it was very limited with what you could do. So since you guys wanted me to update the game and add more to it, that's what I did. But instead of just adding more to the game, I decided to remake the game. Starting from scratch, I programmed a new player system with new shooting mechanics, building mechanics, and overall, the game just felt a lot smoother to play. A major change that I made when remaking the game was to the overall objective of the game. Like I mentioned, in the original game, you had to survive 7 waves to win the game. However, in the new version, I made the game endless. This way, instead of just surviving the 7 waves and winning, the player actually had to take out enemies to get a higher score. Speaking of enemies, so far the game had 6 enemies. The original zombie, which was your standard enemy of the game, the skeleton, which was a little faster than the zombie, did a little more damage and had a little more HP, the mini zombie, which was a lot faster than the original zombie, but dealt less damage and had less HP, the big zombie, which was a lot slower than the original zombie, but dealt a lot more damage and had a lot more HP. There was also a ghost enemy, which had 2 states, the first state, which would just follow the player and act like a normal enemy, and the second state, where they could move through walls and wouldn't take any damage. There was also a lava monster, which would move towards the player, but when it was in a set range of the player, it would stop and start shooting lava blasts at the player. These lava blasts could break through wood and trees and would deal a lot of damage to the player. Overall, the updated version of the game felt more polished and had a better gameplay experience, but there was something missing from the game. A boss fight. But before we add a boss fight, if you've ever wanted to make your own games, then I'd highly recommend the sponsor of this video, Brilliant.org. Brilliant is the best way to learn math, science, and computer science online, as they have thousands of interactive lessons and are constantly adding new lessons every month. You're probably wondering, what does this have to do with making games? Well, one of the most challenging things about making games is programming game logic. But using Brilliant's course on computer science fundamentals made understanding how everything works a lot easier. Brilliant's clean visuals and interactivity makes learning concepts such as computer science much more engaging. And not only that, you can finish these bite-sized lessons in 15 minutes. To get started with Brilliant for free, visit my link at brilliant.org/badgamedev or click on the link in the description. The first 200 of you guys who check out Brilliant through my link will get 20% off Brilliant's annual premium subscription. So be sure to check out Brilliant if you'd like to learn some computer science and improve your game development skills. The first boss that was added to the game was a big zombie boss. I know, very creative. The big zombie boss would move around the map, destroying any obstacle it would collide with, and at set intervals, it would stop and then suddenly dash at the player. If the player collided with the boss, they would be knocked back and take a lot of damage. The boss would also spawn regular zombies before they dashed. The boss spawned at wave 10 and overall made the game a little more interesting. The next thing to add were some new weapons. I added a shotgun, which was similar to the pistol, but would shoot 3 bullets at once. I added an Uzi, which was also similar to the pistol, but had a quicker fire rate. I added a sniper, which if the bullets hit the enemy in the head, it would take them out instantly. I also added a flamethrower, which, you guessed it, shot flames. Now, even though the game was coming along, it still felt a little too easy. The original game was literally so easy to win. All you would really have to do to win the 7 waves was build a base and camp. And in the updated version of the game, it was a little more challenging, but it still felt too easy. So I added a second difficulty to the game, Impossible Mode. Impossible Mode had 2 simple changes. Firstly, if you were attacked by any enemy, you'd be taken out instantly. This made the game more difficult because you had to make sure that you didn't take any damage. Secondly, enemies would spawn anywhere in the map, meaning if you made a base and tried to camp, an enemy could just spawn in and take you out. This made the game very difficult, but it was more of a fun game mode that you could play. Once again, the game was coming along good, but it needed upgrades, and this is where things really changed for the game. I paid different Fiverr sellers to work on the game. Here's what I got. I got a new logo for the game, which turned out really good. I also got some concept art for the game, which was awesome, and I got 2 lots of different development on the game itself. The first lot of development was new enemies and a new boss added to the game. The developer added 3 new enemies. Firstly, the slime enemy, which wouldn't hurt the player, but shot projectiles that would slow the player down. So if they were running away from other enemies and got shot by the slime's projectile, it would slow them down and make it so the enemies could attack them easier. The next enemy that was added was a tree enemy. Enemy trees have a 25% chance to spawn every time a tree grows from a sapling. If the player tries to chop down the enemy tree, it'll fall on the player and damage them. The final enemy added was an armored zombie, which was like a big zombie but with armor, so bullets would not work on this enemy. The only way to take them out was with melee attacks using your axe or pickaxe. The boss that was added to the game was a hybrid zombie. The hybrid zombie has 2 states, the player state and the zombie state. When the hybrid zombie is in the player state, it'll fight the player like a player. It's equipped with a gun, which it uses for range attacks, and an axe, which is used for close combat. The boss has a 25% chance to place down a wooden block every time the player shoots a bullet, allowing them to block the player's bullets. The boss can also use their axe to chop down obstacles, such as trees, player-placed blocks, and blocks placed by the boss. After a while, the hybrid zombie will switch states to the zombie mode. In the zombie mode, the hybrid zombie will pretty much become a normal zombie. They can't use items, and they will only break blocks slowly, like a normal zombie. All new enemies and this boss were great additions to the game. The second lot of development work from Fiverr completely changed the game. This game had a complete upgrade. There were major gameplay improvements, including new player mechanics, a new wave system, a new weapon upgrade system, new enemies, a new boss, and more. Now, I could go through and explain all the changes that were made to the game, but instead, let's just play another gameplay montage. Now, after we received the updated version of the game from Fiverr, there were still some additions I wanted, so I paid the developer again to add some more small changes to the game. From here, it was time to add some new things to the game. I added new weapons, including a sword, which was our first unlockable melee weapon, a rocket launcher, which shot rockets that would explode. The explosion would damage surrounding enemies, obstacles, and even the player, and placeable TNT, which would also explode. I also added the enemies from the other Fiverr developer into the new version of the game. So now we had the slime enemy, the armored zombie, and fake trees, which work a little differently than before. Each tree that spawns in the game automatically has a 10% chance to turn into a fake tree. So yeah, that's how You Probably Won't Survive currently looks. If you would like to play the latest demo of this game, you can download it on my Patreon over at patreon.com/badgamedev. Thanks again to Brilliant for sponsoring this video. Remember, you can get started with Brilliant for free over at my link, brilliant.org/badgamedev, or you can click on the link in the description. Other than that, if you enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like. If you have any suggestions for the game, feel free to leave a comment, and be sure to hit the subscribe button to stay up to date with the game. Peace.